Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get started here. Hello all, and welcome to Low Code Campfire number 69 for September 30th, 2022. Just a little bit of a introduction to the meeting, mostly for the purposes of anybody who might be watching this later. So Low Code Campfire is a community gathering of the people who use Plant an App to get together on a weekly basis and talk about ideas they have to share, things they might be challenged with currently, and want to get help with. So we encourage you to bring something to share with the rest of the participants and to bring questions to get help with. All of the webinars are recorded and are available on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/plantanap. You can subscribe to the channel. Here's a QR code available for you to do that. Our agenda is pretty simple and consistent. We'll do some introductions and then we'll have first call and take a look at some of the contributions. If there's any new contributions to our Campfire website, feature requests, any pre-submitted topics, and we'd like to share ghost stories. We encourage you to engage in the call, to jump in and ask a question or share something useful for the rest of the team. And you can do that through using the chat window, or you can unmute yourself. Our guidelines are pretty simple. If you're not talking, please mute yourself if you have background noise, and be courteous to each other. We encourage submission of questions and topics ahead of time. Here's a QR code to do that. And with that, I'll move on to the introduction section, and I'll start by saying I'm not Dale. Dale is on vacation, and I'm hoping he's having a great time. So I'll be your host today, and welcome everyone.
Good morning.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Nice to be here.
Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Excellent. I see that pretty regular crowd we have here. I don't see anybody new, so I won't put anybody on the spot. We like to put new people on the spot and make them introduce themselves.
Singing and dancing.
Okay. Yeah. Dale threatened to put the song slide back into the deck so that I'd be put on the spot and have to sing if nobody was asking anything. But I'm not going to do that. Okay, so with that, let's move on to the first call. And does anybody have any burning topics they want to bring up? And remember, it's not just things you might be having a problem with, but also anything that you have discovered that might be of use and you want to share, something like that. Nothing today to start with? Okay, well, I'm gonna go in here. Let's see what we have on the Campfire website. So let's take a look there. Let's see. Oh, well, that's not what we want to see on the Campfire website, is it? There we go. I'll log in here first. Let's see, this was awake just a minute ago, but well, that's taking a little bit to come up there, so let's see. Okay, so it looks like we are at the same place we were last week. Did anybody have any anything on the Campfire website that they wanted to highlight that we haven't looked at in a while, or is actually it'd be great if anybody would share a story about something that they've really found useful on here that they've implemented and wanted to pull that into focus. Okay. Well, I know we're going to have a great discussion today. I know we are. We'll get there. Okay.
Patrick, I just want to hear you sing. That's all.
Is that what this is? Did you all
Oh, yeah.
band together and decide that you were
We
going
had
to
a
do this?
secret agreement before the meeting started.
Okay. And so I think that takes us to the next tab that I already have open, which is the feature requests. And we have a new feature request. I saw this one already. So Mark, do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Sure. It's just an idea to allow any action in a stack to fail and yet let the rest of the actions in the stack continue to run.
Mm-hmm. So have you noticed, I mean, maybe you've used this already, but on the execute actions on entity list, have you noticed that we have a feature like that?
I did go and look at that action and I didn't see such a feature.
Okay, so let me see if I can
I am not on 1.21 yet. Does that make a difference?
No, it shouldn't.
Or
That's
2.2. I think I'm on 2.1.
So I've actually used the feature successfully before to actually log errors that are happening as it iterates through the list that it's iterating through, and but then allow it to continue going on, and it's that can be useful. So let me just.
Wow, now that has got to be the fastest response to a feature request ever.
So let me just create a new one here, and we'll do. Oops. So right here, continue on error. So what you can do here is that you can add, I think what I did was I used the either the log event or log error action. I think it was this one because I definitely used the log properties, and this is the one that has log properties. I used this for each list entry to get to use the contextual tokens for that list entry to log something, so I know why that one failed, and then choose the continue on error option here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great. I'm wondering why I didn't see that. I'm either blind or I'm on a different version. I'm not sure, but that's
Just
great.
for clarification, that is only a feature available when you're iterating through and
Right.
list.
So I don't. So yeah, I do think there's room
Because I
for
don't see it in
improvement.
execute actions.
Right. So don't get me wrong here. I do believe that there's room for improvement here, Mark. So I don't think that your feature request was unwarranted. But I did want to point out that this is available here. Now, having said that, I would say that your feature request is something that we are already taking up. So what we have been discussing on the product team is that we want to be able to have an on-error response for everything, because we think that that's a something that we need to improve on, is that we have this option for doing on-error here for a lot of things, but we don't have it for everything that perhaps should have it. So we have it here, we have it for running SQL and that sort of thing, but not. But there's places where we could improve on that. So we're working on a solution there, and it may not be. I'm not sure exactly what our final solution is going to be there. It may not be that it's something like this on every action, but you'll be able to have something for every action. So we're working towards that.
Sounds great. Thanks for taking a look.
Yeah, and so also I'll confirm at what stage we are on that, and for Ben's sake, I'll try to remember to go back and update the the request.
Yes, please. I see all those feature requests, but I don't see any status updates.
There's a few in there, right? I know that that we have some things that are working on. I think that, don't we have some that are in status working on? Or under consideration?
I've seen some, yeah, in the past.
Not many. I know a few Dale has changed, but the vast majority of them stay as proposed.
Mhm.
Okay. Are there any other feature requests that anybody wants to highlight so that they can try to get upvotes for the requests they put in?
It's not a feature request yet, but I saw someone mention it and I have to agree to it, and I'll add it as a feature request if necessary, but bring back the underscore.
It's in discussion. It is.
I
Yeah,
need it.
actually, that's one that probably needs an update here. That's being promoted within. So
Where do you want to use an underscore, Ben?
in tokens, right?
My tokens.
Yeah.
I
Right.
use underscores in so many of them, mainly because it helps me kind of sort and organize them alphabetically,
Sure.
and it helps with the reading of it. You know, you get kind of like that spacing in between words. And right now I don't have this problem, but someone else had posted on the community that the latest update now blocks you from basically editing. You haven't been able to create a new one since Plantain App started in My Tokens, but now apparently the latest version now prevents you from even editing existing ones.
Well, that's because the My Tokens interface has been retired. It's not, we don't, the actual separate interface for tokens is no longer available. So tokens are only available through Plantain App, and it's the Plantain App interface that is that you can still use the underscore tokens, but it's the problem now is that you can't actually go in and resave it. So you can't go in and make changes to it and save it with the changes because of this deal. And it's I can tell you that's been discussed this week actively. So anybody else? Or even if it's not your feature request here, anything that anybody wants to highlight to everyone else.
I have a question. I had that request in their namespace organization on API screen, I think right toward the top. Did I understand it correctly that that was either under consideration already or as part of the new UI approach?
It is, yeah. It's something we're aiming for what we're aiming for is to have namespaces throughout, all the different components that we have, and to have those namespaces be consistent. Because right now, like tokens is all on its own. You create a namespace in workflows, and you can create a namespace in tokens, and they don't they don't line up with each other. But what we're aiming for is to add namespaces throughout the components, including APIs and automated tasks, and then have them be the same. So if you create a namespace in workflows, you'll see it in APIs and automation and vice versa. So that's what we're aiming for, is to have that be a consistent thing.
Excellent.
And eventually that would be the same for tokens as well, although that gets complicated because we may have there could be potentially some conflicts there, so there's going to have to be migration done and everything when we get to incorporating tokens into that, because tokens have had namespaces all along. But
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Yep.
When you're ready, I have another question for the group.
Well, yep, your hand is raised, so I recognize Matt.
The chairman gives me the floor. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So the question to the group is, has anyone done any kind of substantial work or with the PDF, HTML to PDF converter service? And it's wkhtml2pdf.org. I've started to work with it, making some progress, but I don't know what I don't know. So if there's anybody who might be able to guide me or give me some heads up, that would be most appreciated.
Anybody? I mean, have you run into a any places where you're struggling yet?
Oh yeah. Me. No, I'm just kidding. One of the things first of all, good news is that some of their switches that they use, like turning collation on and off and so on, it's the user interface line in a form is one line, but their switches become lengthy. So what the nice thing I found out was that you can put all those switches in their related configurations in tokens. So you can have back to namespaces, a namespace, in my case, for reports that have got like header, footer, CSS, and so on. And then just put the tokens in there. And that's a lot cleaner. Plus it gives you an easy way just to edit one particular section at a time. The other thing I found was, able to use basically inject an HTML header in the document. So you can have a standard header that's you've crafted in HTML and put that in. Again, that was also using tokens to reference where that page is. But anyway, I don't know what I don't know, so I'm just kind of throwing it out there. If anybody's got any experience with it and wouldn't mind chit-chatting about it, that would be awesome.
I was confused at first. I thought you were talking about a different website service. You're talking about the built-in HTML to PDF action.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you're talking specifically about
extensively.
these options right here, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
I haven't used many of those options directly there, but I have extensively used the HTML to PDF actions.
Okay.
I've created miniature applications basically around it where you can design templates, and then those templates can basically be called anywhere throughout your website, and it will generate the PDF with any tokens that you pass along to it and things like that. So it becomes very dynamic and reusable as well, because the way I've written mine is that I broke it into header, body, footer. So I could have like a default where I put a header and a footer, and then on all of the items I create otherwise, I reference the header and the footer to the default one. And if I make a change to that one item, it changes all of the PDF, designs everywhere else, stuff like that.
That's go ahead. Sorry, Patrick.
Yeah, something this example I'm showing you doesn't have this, but something I've used this for in the past is to repeat a header on each page of a very long PDF. And there's a setting that you can use by going to the site, you can find it and you can use it in here that will have that header repeat on each page. Have you been able to accomplish that, Ben?
I haven't had a need specifically for that just yet. So the answer is no, I haven't done that. I try to, for the most part, limit the other options, those options that are listed there, only because I like to control my PDFs more granularly. So I actually control all of the content within the HTML itself. So if I need a header that's going to be crossing pages and stuff like that, when I'm building the HTML, I control it in that respect. I put things in divs. I tell it to do a page break after div. My next div will have, a repeat of the header, whatever it needs, because that gives me more control over specifically how it's being displayed.
For what it's worth, I had a pretty good success when I did that. That was a long time ago, though. This actually, this is the creation of the certificate on the Academy when you successfully pass your exam. That's what this is, and it's mostly styling that's in here. Then these are very specifically placed because we didn't, it's everything has to fall into a very specific spot on this PDF. So anyway, and to get it to look the way we needed it to, the options in here really helped significantly.
So kind of back to, first of all, thank you, Patrick. That would be great. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
So kind of back to you, Ben. That's the direction I'm heading in terms of, making everything modular, header, footer, switches, things like that. What, I'm uncertain about is kind of back to your point about controlling headers. Where do you use the actions in this PDF generator versus where do you use actions that are under your control inside of your HTML? So that's a general question, but
I mean, if you want, I mean, it's up to the group if they want to see it or not. I could show you the template manager that I've built. I'm actually in the process of doing a couple of new features and upgrades to it, but generalistically speaking, I can show you what I have right now, if that helps you at all.
That'd be awesome. But real quick, I just want to, you said you're not using any of the the options from WK-HTML to PDF.
The only option that I have used, and for the most part, I've kind of removed that, was the page footer option, just to say like page number of number.
yeah.
I've used that because
Mhm.
in some cases I do have multiple pages and I wanted to show that. But I have since also made modifications so that my code actually knows how many pages there are. And I actually do it differently because I also want to format how it shows. Like if you use those commands, I think it just says, like, for argument's sake, 1/2 at the bottom of the page. I like to say page 1 of 2.
Yeah.
So I want to control it more granularly. So that's why I said I've taken that out and I've done my own because I just prefer to have a little bit more control.
So Ben, if you want to share that, or
Oh,
do you
sure.
want to have a little bit of time to set it up? Or
Hopefully everyone can see my screen.
yep, we can.
Okay. Well, this is my template manager. It does both email as well as documents. But let me go to the document side. So just to give you an example, I give, all my templates a name. This is the header, the body. It's just straight HTML because that's what the PDF uses. As you can see here, this is that page thing I was telling you about. I use token params as anything that I need to supply. It will also be able to use any direct token. So if you have a token that, for example, builds specific data, it doesn't have to be a tokens param. You could put any tokens in there and they get automatically run and used in the system. Other than that, let me see really quick.
May I ask you a question, Ben?
Yeah, go ahead.
On that HTML editor, that's just simply a large text field. You're not using like any of the editor choices inside of action form to help with HTML. Is that correct?
Not right now, but again, remember how I told you I'm making a couple of changes? One of the changes I'm going to do is I'm going to start converting those to use the code mirror. So it's going to use code mirror with the HTML add-on so that you can actually have, that coloring of your HTML and stuff like that, and line numbers and whatnot. I just don't have that yet. I used it this way as opposed to using the DNN editor, because the DNN editor will totally muck up your HTML. So the text box makes no changes. So, you could type whatever you want in there and it's going to stay the way it is. But then one of the things I do is, like, once you've designed the HTML, one of the things, I was always having an issue with is I want to see it. So I created this little button here, click on PDF. It actually goes and generates the PDF. And then this is basically what you come up with. See, as you could see, the 1 of 1, I still have that code in there, but I actually put it in here. I just got to remove that that command. But for me, this makes a lot more sense in how I use the PDFs and allows me to reuse them.
Do you mind actually showing your PDF action?
Oh yeah, sure. Again, that's another thing that I'm gonna modify. I have, let me go to my email manager. just to show you really quick. In here, I have this little guy where if I click on that, it actually imports the JSON code to use an email template. And then I can paste that into a form or whatever, and then just tweak the parameters as needed. So, you know, whatever the name of the template is and stuff, I'm going to do the same exact thing for my PDFs. So that way there'll be a button up here. You click on that and it's going to copy the PDF generation code. So it's just something that could be popped into a form elsewhere. But in the meantime, it's pretty, you know, straightforward. So this just, I have some code in here to basically compile the full body of the PDF based off of the header, the body, and the footer. It deletes the preview file if it exists, and then it just generates the PDF. I have a link in here that will always include the Bootstrap link, so you'll have access to Bootstrap commands, and then you know, all of the body with all the tokens evaluated will just go straight into the PDF into, you know, a preview file, and then redirects you to that document. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot to this portion of it. The only difference is like when you actually use it live is basically like this guy would have to right here for the most part is the only thing that you really need to concern yourself with, which would be the name of the template that you want to use.
How does the so you put a parameter in the HTML you had. How does that parameter get passed in? There was a TK and params parameter, right?
Oh, at the time you generate, because this is being done here as a token expression and you have recursions. Well, you know what? Hold on. I can. It's easier for me to show it in the email manager right now, because that's the one that really does a little clearer. Okay, so these are, this basically here, this little guy, is when you hit that button to copy to clipboard, this is the JSON export that gets, you know, put into clipboard. So then when you paste it into a form, it gives you this one execute action with these items underneath. So the PDF is basically similar to this. I just don't have one right here to show you, but it just basically, you put in your template name, which is going to be the main running piece to that. This is going to build out a JSON string of all of your token parameters. So basically you would have to put them in here, whatever your token parameters are. So I have this as a sample. So you just copy paste this and put as many as you want, bind them to whatever your items are here. That will end up giving you this token JSON. And then I have an API call that will just basically spit all that information out. And then the API goes and generates the PDF and returns to you the location of the file. So, I mean, it's kind of involved. There's a lot of pieces, but, you know, I have it set up with directions to install because I use this on almost every single one of the websites that I create. So I have like a folder with all of the files and everything. So I'll be able to share that with you once I make the updates, Matt, if you want. And then all you have to do is you run all the files that are there. You know, create the folders, create the modules, run the SQL or whatnot that needs to be running to create store procedures or whatnot. But once that's all done, then this becomes usable in its entirety, you know, on your system.
Yeah, that's very well done, mister. Very well done. Thank you.
Ben always has something really cool to share.
He does.
Ask and you shall receive.
So that template manager underneath here, that's all of your available, in this case, either reports or emails, correct?
Correct. So this basically is a list of all of the, well, the documents are PDFs,
Right.
and then the emails are email templates. So like with the email templates, you know, and again, I've made a change to that. I might actually have it here where I can show you. Come on. Oh, I just went the wrong way. Hold on, wrong one. I meant to go to template manager, not email. Crap, I don't have it here. Where the heck did I put it?
Now that sounds familiar.
I think I know where it is. I have too many websites half the time. I don't remember where I put what. But as you can see, multiple websites, and I have the same structure in a lot of them. Those apps, I have them preset, so it's easy to do.
Cool.
As you can see, like I'm putting version numbers on here now because I'm expecting eventually to be sharing them. But for like in this one, the email, I added this little guy here. So it actually goes in and identifies every single token that it finds in the email. So when you're building your JSON of which tokens you need for that template, this actually gives you a list of all tokens. So you don't have to go searching through the HTML code and
Right.
say, oh my God, which are all the tokens that I have to feed this in order for it to build it completely properly. This will just give you a list of all the tokens that are in, you know, that specific section in that specific template. You know, so it kind of helps out with keeping
Managing.
things
Yeah.
organized.
Ben,
But
you're like
again,
the
you know,
king of metadata.
I like to make things dynamic. That's my biggest thing. I absolutely loathe hard coding anything because it just makes it might make it easier to program at the moment, but it makes it a pain to manage in the future. So I do as much as I possibly can. Like, for example, this list manager is something that I use inside and out on almost every single website because it's just basically, it's reminiscent of DNN's old list manager. I took their idea, but they got rid of it. And I just basically kind of recreated it. And this allows me to basically put in just information that can be used anywhere in my application. And I have a token that basically I say, find me out of list name, deleted records filter, the item 30 days, and it brings back the value. And that way, if for whatever reason I change one of these values, you know, if I change, as long as the text doesn't change, let's say this just said alert limit, alert time, whatever, and I put 30. If I change that to 60, that's it. Anywhere I use it in the whole entire website is now 60. I don't have to go and find every single location where I've put it to update it.
Right. Right.
And then I've made other, you know, tweaks to this. So something that the original DNN list manager did not have, but that is, like you can see here, it says prevent delete. Actually, let me go this way. This is how I build a list. So I can give it a parent list, give it its name. Either all users that have access to this page can see it, or only administrators. So if you wanted to hide a list that was like an admin only list, a super user list, only they would be able to see it. And then these are the fields that show when you're editing an item. These are the fields that show in the grid. This is a customized add and edit form if you decide to create one. And then this is a value parser, so you can display how you want the value to display in here. For argument's sake, in some cases, I use a comma delimited strings where the first value means something, the second is something, the third is something, so forth, so on. I can use that custom parser so that it displays the data in that grid nice and neat, as opposed to just a comma delimited list. You know, things like that. Other things that I've done is this lock text and prevent delete. So visible by the admin only. But if, let's say, I gave my end users access to this, I could say, well, this particular item in here, like this text, has to be that text. They cannot change it, because if they change it, they'll break the system. So if I go in and I flip this to on, as I'll show you real quick, and if I edit this now, I can lock the text as well as prevent delete. So you can see there's a delete button. If I hit prevent delete as well as lock text, now this little prevent delete shows as a lock. And the text itself, when they edit it, see, for me, as an admin, I can always change it. They're going to get a read-only text box. They won't be able to modify the text to this. So it prevents them from accidentally mucking something up and either deleting or renaming something that is used elsewhere in the website. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent on something completely different.
That's good.
Cool stuff.
But yeah, you know, like I said, I'm very big on trying to make things as dynamic as possible. Just also, like, I don't want to lose my mind trying to find every location where I've used something and I'm like, you know, oh, I changed this value here, now I got to change it in 15 other places. So just makes it a little bit easier. Where is the stop?
Excellent. Anybody have any other questions for Ben on that?
Thank you, Ben. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Thank
Ben.
you.
Always happy to see what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
I really pushed the boundaries with Plant and App and back in the day DNN Sharp modules. So
Cool. Anybody have anything else they want to share or other questions? Matt's question got us quite a long way there. Let's see where our presentation takes us here. Ghost stories, right to ghost stories. Anybody have any ghost stories? Or dark corners? If not, I think I can share one. Let's see. I gotta get there. So I guess it's okay. Let me just go to so I was working with USPA on a server request they were doing, and they were getting, we were struggling because it kept on erroring, and I'm just trying to get signed in here, and I'll be back to sharing that in a second. And it was really a bizarre thing going on, and I'm going to show you. There was a character coming back, and I got with Dale, we were looking at it, and it was very perplexing to us, and all of a sudden it came into view exactly what it was. So just bear with me for a second. It had to do with authorized.net, and we were making a call to authorized.net, and there. So let me pull this back over here now. There, the server request was returning a character that, when we put it into parse JSON into tokens, this completely broke. It wouldn't do anything. And at first we were looking at at configuration. Is there something wrong with configuration? And it wasn't. And to make a long story short, but I'll go back to the details on it. What ended up happening is that we basically pulled out the first character of the JSON string they were returning. What the first character turned out to be was a 0 width non-breaking space. Anybody familiar with that? Take it by nobody responding that they're not. Is everybody seeing my screen? Somebody confirm that we're still.
No screen at the moment.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I thought you were seeing my screen. I apologize. Yep, I never went back to share, did I? Okay. Okay, so let me go back here, and then this will give you more context about what I was just saying. Is that this server request right here, when we went to parse it into part the JSON into tokens, we kept on erroring on this action right here. And so here's what ended up fixing it, was that we were basically use a substring token to pull out the first character of the JSON we were getting back from them, and it turned out to be a 0 width non-breaking space, which is /UEFFEF, I believe. I was able to find it by outputting the response, and then I was trying to figure out ways we could handle it. And Dale came up with this idea here. Let me show you that. Nope, not that one there. Let's see. Did that. To basically iterate through the string we're getting back and pull out each character. So that's this SQL right here is iterating through the entire string and pulling out each character separately so that we could see which character was the issue. But when we tried this, it broke also. So the 0 width non-breaking space was breaking our query as well. I took this query, put it into the SQL console, put the response string into the string here, and then noticed that there was a leading character, and I moused over the leading character, and within the SQL console, it showed me that it was a UEFFF/UEFFF, which is a 0 width non-breaking space, and that was just breaking everything. So anyway, that's my ghost story. It took a while for us to get to the bottom of this. And
Yeah,
anybody,
but that did.
Anybody ever experienced anything like that?
They should rename that the 0 width "it broke my system"
Yeah.
character.
Did you ever determine why they were sending that first?
No, she tried to go through support, and they really they gave her a hard time, and sent her probably about 25 questions that she had to answer before they would go any further. And anyway, it ended up the substring. At first, it didn't work, and we're not really sure why it wasn't working. It was breaking that at first too, but then ultimately it did end up working. The substring token took care of it.
So does that mean you're just stripping off the first character now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. That's all it is. Yeah. Let's see, do I have it here also? No, but it's yeah, just you probably noticed that that we told it to start with character 1. It's just because the count starts at 0, so it's just giving us 1 through, and we put 9999 just to make sure we had enough characters to cover the entire response. Any other ghost stories to share?
Just on that point of it, with APIs returning weird stuff, I've had similar sorts of problems with different code sets, and getting mostly what I expected to get back, but because it was a slightly different variation on UTF-8. There were odd characters were transposed, so it may be that it's maybe something like that. Also, extended characters, characters with diacritics on them, would a character would come through, but it wasn't the character that you were expecting to get. So I wonder if it's something like that. There's not a lot you can do about it, but that's something similar that's happened to me.
Well, yeah, and when we took the string and we it broke when we tried to run the SQL list action. It broke the action completely. But when we just ran it in SQL console initially, the response when we were breaking all the characters out, it was just a question mark. That's what it returned, was a question mark, including that. So that SQL that I just showed you a minute ago returns the character and the UTF-8 code, and it returned a question mark and the UTF-8 code for a question mark. Was what the SQL was returning, but the only way I discovered the zero with non-breaking space is by mousing over the character before in the SQL console before I actually ran the query. That's where I discovered what it actually was. All right, anything? Any other ghost stories? Or we have dark corners. That's the next slide. Anything that you are working on in the dark corner of your website experimentally? I imagine that Ben must have many, many dark corners. And Ben, you have your hand up.
Ben,
Yes,
should
I
you
do
take
have my
that
hand up.
personally?
I have a lot of dark corners, huh? I have to remember that. Yeah, no, my hand was up. It was for a different reason. I just wanted to ask a question. Do you, by chance, Patrick, have? I'm hoping you do. Administrative editing rights to the Campfire website.
I actually don't believe I do, but I will check and see that.
Because it looks like I may need to request a change because it looks like in maybe one of the plant and app updates, something you guys changed, bashed my some of my contributions.
And it's something that you now you don't have the ability to change.
It's basically it's just security wise, the ability to download .export files, because I put export files up there that people can download to import into their system, but apparently .export now is a banned file, so it won't let you download them. It comes up as a null file.
Okay. Yeah, and I just checked. I don't have rights to it, but I can figure out a way around that.
I mean, the only way I can get around that is if I rename it .txt at the end, but I'd rather not do that because then the end user has to rename them back to, removing the .txt and stuff.
Okay.
This .css actually is another one that is not allowed.
On Campfire?
Yeah,
Really?
I had to do the same thing. For example, like my someone was just telling me that my contribution for the dash cards, I have 3 file links there and they weren't working. So I just, as a test, I replaced the CSS styling one to .txt instead of .css. And then it allows the download.
Okay.
And the same thing, the .export, if I put .export .txt at the end, it allows a download. But if I just leave it as .export, it won't.
Yeah, I'll check into that, definitely.
Thank you.
Sure. Anybody else have any stories to tell from this week or things you need help with? There's got to be something. Let's see. Should I do a classic teacher trick and find who hasn't participated and call on them? No, I won't do that. Well, I guess if we are at a point of wrapping things up, I will start to wrap things up, and we can all stay and chat for a little while. But just to make sure everybody's aware that we will not be having a campfire next week. Both Dale and I and most of the other people who would be able to do this will be occupied. We'll all be together. As I think you all know, we're going to be have a whole company gathering, so that'll be great. And for that reason, won't be having campfire next week. And with that, happy low coding, everybody. And I will go ahead and stop the recording, and we can stay for our afterglow segment.